in answering the questions, and it's not all that relevant as to when it happens. And so most of the things that I'm going to cover today are going to be suggestions, recommendations, ideas, concepts, strategies, and my weird thoughts that fit just as well in policy as they do in public forum.
What if I just stare at there and stand there and look at them? Isn't that what I'm supposed to do? Like the Jedi mind trick? Here, let's cross X. Ask me a question.
Which leads me into my very first concept. Cross-X or Crossfire is a place for you to build credibility with the judge. And some things you do build credibility, and then some things that are done build no credibility. We just saw an example of the latter.
I'm ready to cry.
So you have an opportunity in both to impress the judge, not only with your knowledge as you verbalize it, but in the way you conduct yourself. The nonverbals speak loud in the debate, and in many cases, when it comes down to a close decision, particularly with judges that aren't technical judges, now by that I mean judges that get into the minutiae of the arguments with you, much like Scott would, you have an opportunity to build credibility. For those of you in public forum, as well as some of those of you in policy at the NFL tournament, it is not out of the question that you will have some moms and some dads judging you. Now, even though all have been to a certain extent trained in what to do, none of them will be debate coaches. So they're going to be looking at the nonverbals that you give off as well as the way you present yourself verbally. And Cross-X and Crossfire is a way for you to build credibility with that judge. So with that in mind, let's begin by talking about the three purposes, and I'll just use the term Cross-X, and when I do it means Cross-X as well as Crossfire, okay? The three purposes of Cross-X. First of all, to clarify information. If there's something your opponent has said that you just don't understand, this is the time for you to find out. And you should find out. Because your misunderstanding could only cost you time that would be wasted by arguments that you might present in your speech. So make sure that if there's any part of your opponent's argument or case that you don't understand, clarify. Does everyone understand that before you shoot a bow and arrow or a gun, you need a target to hit? Does that make sense? You'll never get a bullseye without a target. And so Cross-X is your place to put their arguments in a target. Clarify information. The second purpose for Cross-X is to set up your arguments. This is a place through your questions that you can establish links in your arguments. You can destroy the links of your opponent's arguments. If they don't have a sound link, if their evidence reads like, well, if this happens, this might happen, there's no strength in that. Because first of all, it's something that's based on an if, not something that has happened. And it's based on a might, not a will. So if the argument your opponent is presenting has a problem with the link, it's your opportunity to expose it, or better yet, to get them to expose it. If your argument, if they're trying to challenge you on the links in your argument, it's your opportunity to explain it to the judge. Which leads me to Washer's really #1 rule: know how your case works. You're not just reading your case, you're presenting it. And you should know how each and every argument within your case works. And you should know how each and every piece of evidence you cite supports your argument. And be able, without going, well, let me see, you should not have to look to find the answer to those questions. Proper preparation. Right. And this is proper preparation, okay? And the third purpose of Crossfire, and the most important purpose sometimes in Crossfire, is to discover your opponent's ignorance. Find out what they don't know. For what they don't know can only come back to haunt them in the debate, can it not? When you know what your opponent doesn't know, when you find out that your opponent doesn't know their case, doesn't know their evidence, doesn't know how their arguments work to support the resolution, it's the opportunity for you to just drive a big old truck down their street and block their driveway with it.
So
Find out your opponent's ignorance level. Can they defend their position? What is it they don't know? Some specific ideas as far as Crossfire is concerned. Some notions that over the years, some people have thought were good ideas that quite honestly aren't necessarily good ideas. Don't have as your goal of Cross-X to get your opponent to give up. It's not going to happen. You know, your opponents have egos too. So they're not just going to go, oh man, I'm going to quit. So don't even think that that's going to happen. That's not an effective strategy. It's a fantasy to think that your opponent's going to turn into Jell-O right in front of you. It's not going to happen. They're not going to break down in tears, we hope. I'll talk about that in a little while. So don't try to have as your goal getting them to give up. Secondly, ask questions, don't make speeches. This goes back to the idea of credibility. Now, I know a lot of people in Cross-X and Crossfire will try to impress you with how much they know by telling you everything they know in as much of the 3 minutes as you will give them. That doesn't curry favor with the judge. Not when the purpose of Cross-X or Crossfire is to have an exchange of information. It's not an extension of someone's speech. So if you want to build credibility with the judge, when you're asked a question, answer it. But answer it in as few words as you can, as directly as you can, and move on. Don't build speeches, build credibility. 3, know when to stop. And this is best illustrated by an example that was given by a judge. He was a judge in New York City who was during his time regarded as one of the foremost authorities on cross-examination in the legal profession. His name is Irving, or was, he's passed away. His name is Irving Younger. And Irving Younger talks about a case that he had in his courtroom that involved a fatal car accident, an accident in which someone died. And there was a witness to this car accident, and the lawyer for the man that was accused of driving the car and killing someone was questioning this supposed witness to this situation. Remember, the theme here is don't ask too many questions, know when to stop. So the witness is on the stand and the cross-examination goes something like this. Now, it was about 4:30 in the morning, was it not? Yes. And it was dark at that time, was it not? Yes, it was dark. And it's our understanding that it had been raining for a good part of the night, so it was cloudy, which means it probably was darker than normal. Oh yes, it was. The cross-examination goes on to talk about the witness. Well, you were not right at the scene. You were about a quarter to maybe even a half mile removed from the scene, were you not? Yes, I was. And you were up in a tree? Yes, I was up in a tree. And so you saw this from a distance, did you not? Oh, that's correct, I did. The lawyer then says, now, sir, I can't help but notice, but you wear glasses. And the witness said, yes, I do wear glasses. To which the next question was, well, I also can't help to notice, but your glasses kind of look like the bottom of Coca-Cola bottles. They're so thick. Oh, that's right, I'm legally blind in one eye and my eyesight's very poor in the other. Now remember, this is an eyewitness to an accident that was about a quarter to a half mile away, up in a tree, in darkness, on a rainy night. If you're a member of the jury, wouldn't you automatically have some doubt about this witness? Except the lawyer went on to ask one more question. And that question was, well, in the middle of the night, on a rainy night when it was cloudy and very dark, with your problems with your eyesight, from a quarter to a half mile away while you're up in a tree, how could you have ever witnessed this accident? Oh, well, that's easy, sir. The reason I was out there is I'm a bird enthusiast. And so I was out looking at the birds that were out early on that morning, getting prepared, and I had my binoculars with me. And at the time of the accident, I had my binoculars trained right on the car and the driver. One question too many. Know when to stop. Don't ask one question too many. Get what you need and call an end to it. Number 4. Make allegations in your speech, not in cross-examination. Make allegations or arguments in your speech, not in cross-examination. And here's why. You want your opponent to use their speech time in order to answer your allegations. If you make them in cross-examination, you're going to have to give them an opportunity to respond, in which case now they can use cross-ex time, not speech time, to make a response. Number 5, you control cross-examination on multiple levels. And let's talk about those levels. First of all, what I call the interpersonal level. Be polite. Be friendly. Be cordial. It's okay to be specific and direct. And it's okay to stand your ground. But it's much better if you're trying to build credibility to kill with kindness. On the physical level, we all have what we call a body space. And most of us don't like someone in our body space. On occasion, Knowing that will allow you to make movement in cross-examination to get into someone's body space and make them uncomfortable. It might be just taking a simple step to them. And if you take a step to them and they take a step away from you, you could have fun. I don't recommend it, but you can march them all over the stage if you wanted to. But at least understand that you've gotten into their head a little bit. On a physical level, you've gotten to them and you've put them in an uncomfortable situation. Number 6, avoid the question that starts with, "Isn't it a fact?"
Don't you agree?
It's too broad. No one's going to agree with you. If they're smart, they're just going to say, "Not that I know of." And where do you go then with your question? You have to backtrack and try to ask it in an appropriate way. So don't waste time from the get-go asking, "Isn't it a fact? Don't you agree?" 7, ask only one question at a time. Why? Because if you ask 2 questions, your respondent's going to pick the one that he or she has the best answer to and hit a home run with that answer and probably never answer and address your second question. Answer only one question at a time. 8, only ask the questions that you know the answer to. I think that's somewhat self-explanatory. But if you don't know the answer to the question you're asking, you're only inviting trouble. You're giving control to your opponent, which is something that you never want to do. Number 9, and this is true whether you're in policy or a public forum, always have at least one, and I really recommend 2 specific questions ready for any and every case that you think your opponent might run. That way you never get into a situation where it's your turn to ask a question, you're standing there and your opponent says, "Do you have a question?" And you go, "No." But I didn't say just have any question ready, did I? Have a specific, direct question. Remember the bullseye? You don't want to hit the outer ring with your question. You want to hit the inner ring with it. You want a bullseye with that question. So make it specific and core to the central issue. Put them on the defensive about their argument, whether it's at the link level, at the internal link level, at the impact level, wherever it may be. Put them on the defensive immediately. Once there, it'll be very easy to keep them on the defensive. Okay, those are just some general ideas, dispelling some ideas that have been around for a while, some food for thought. Let me give you now some ideas if you are the witness. You are the person that's answering the questions, okay? It's okay, number 1, it's okay to say, "I don't know." In fact, it's much better to say, "I don't know," than to give an answer that's going to get you in trouble. And if you don't know, most answers that you would give other than "I don't know" will get you in trouble. Now, what are some ways that you can say "I don't know" and not look like someone that doesn't know? All right? I'll give you a couple of ideas here. Wait, we got some ideas. Oh, I know where these are coming from. Yes.
I don't have the information.
Okay, yes?
I will answer your question later on in the speech.
Oh, well, why? Why are we waiting until then? I mean, I really need the answer now, so in the next speech I can have some kind of discussion about this. Why would we want to wait? I'm not going to let you wait. Yes.
Like say, give an evidence that is kind of
Give some evidence it turns, okay? All right, here, let me give you a couple of potential phrases, and if you practice these will be very comfortable for you. If you never practice them, they might come off as a little stilted, okay? But at the present time, I'm not sure I have enough information to form an opinion on that. That's just a fancy way of saying I don't know. At the present time, I don't know that I have enough information to form an opinion on that.
I'm not sure if I have enough information.
At the present time, I don't have enough information to form an opinion on that.
What if you're like, who cares? I don't and you shouldn't either.
I wouldn't do that. That doesn't build credibility with the judge. What if you are asked a question and the questioner says, please answer yes or no only?
Just keep repeating, say this is all I can see.
I can't hear you. Would you speak up, please?
Then just say that that's all I can see.
Just say that's all I can say? Is that what you said? Okay. If you're asked a question and then the questioner says yes or no, the response that I would give would be something like this. That question requires more than a yes or no answer. And I'll be more than happy to give you the yes or no after I explain. It might be a trick question. That question demands more than a yes or no answer. And I'll be more than happy to answer yes or no after I explain. How about the age-old question, Mike, do you still beat your wife? What's implicit in that question? Still. It means that I have in the past, and the question is dealing with am I currently, right? In the present. Do you still beat your wife, yes or no? That answer requires more than a yes or no explanation because it implies that I've beaten my wife in the past, and the answer to that is no, I haven't. And still indicates am I currently beating my wife, and my answer to that is no, I am not. I'll give you your no answer. But I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm not beating my wife now and leave implicit out here in your question that I have in the past. Okay? Number 3, give straightforward answers. Have enough confidence in your knowledge about things to give straightforward answers. It'll build wonderful credibility with the judge. Number 4, beware of traps. Think ahead about things. Think about questions that you might or might not get. And think about how you're going to answer some of those. You can rehearse. In practice debates, in debates at your tournament, take cross-X and crossfire as seriously as you will at a tournament. In fact, anything you do in practice should be done as seriously as you will in the tournament. Because you will perform at the tournament the way you perform in practice. 5, answer the question. Do not push questions off to your partner. which basically says I'm an idiot, but my partner's not. You're there for a reason. You're part of the team. You're a strength of the team. Know the answers. 6, house your answer in evidence. House your answer in evidence. So when you are asked a question, your answer should be, oh no, that's wrong. There's actually 3 satellites that we're talking about that are useful to the United States. No, your answer should be that expert A, astronaut Buzz Aldrin, in his piece on this, advocates that we need all 3 astronauts. Refer to the evidence in your case. House your answers whenever possible in your evidence. I'll conclude with another story. This might be one that you can appreciate, maybe not, we'll see. You understand that knowledge is power? I'll tell you about one of my children. I think I said at the beginning of the week I have 4 children, and they tried every trick in the book on me. Now, they're older now. My youngest is 31. But there wasn't anything these 4 tried. So very seldom do I run into a group of teenagers today that have any new tricks. They're just recycled old tricks. But my oldest son had a curfew of 11 o'clock. He comes home at 12:30. He finds the house completely dark. The door is unlocked. Mother is up, apparently in bed, certainly not to be seen anywhere around the house. So he quietly comes in, quietly makes his way up to his room, quietly goes to bed. The next morning he comes down at breakfast, and Mrs. Washer had that look on her face, oh my, it's not going to be a good day for Scott. How many of you know that look on your mom's face? Oh, this is not going to be a good day. Yeah. So they're talking a little bit, just trying to have a little casual conversation, and all of a sudden Mrs. Washer says, so, what time did you get home last night? Knowledge is power, because he doesn't know what she knows or may not know. He's in a position where if he says, oh, I got home at 11, he doesn't know if she was up at 11, does he? So he could be caught in a lie. Or if he says, I got home at 12:30 and tells the truth, well, that was that look that it's not going to be a good day, right? So knowledge is power. By the way, he said 12:30. But knowledge in cross-X allows you to have not only the right questions, but also to be able to provide the right and correct answer. And any time that you have the facts on your side is much better than when you don't. So once again, I go back to the concept of preparation prevents poor performance. Questions?
Can you repeat that sentence?
Repeat what, honey?
Sentence?
Which sentence?
Like the one you said, like knowledge and information.
Here, I can't. I gotta take my old ears that don't hear well over here.
Can you repeat the sentence in the note about the knowledge and the cross-examination that was used?
Help me.
Can you repeat the sentence about the knowledge
The what in cross-ex?
Knowledge is cross-examination, like the sentence. You know, like you said a sentence about knowledge and cross-examination allows you to not only let you have the right answers, but really get that answer.
Oh, okay. Okay, so when you have the knowledge, you not only can ask the right question and good questions, but you can provide the correct answer. And with facts on your side, you have the opportunity to build much more credibility with the judge. Okay? You're welcome.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
What were the 5 P's?
The what?
5 P's? Like proper?
Proper performance, proper preparation prevents poor performance. What other questions? You know, cross-ex and crossfire are probably the least prepared for parts of the debate. And in my mind, they have the potential to do more damage than what most give them credit for, because it's the debaters actually asking the questions and giving the answers. So it's your opportunity to not give a person a chance to just say what they want to say, but to stop them and question them about what they're saying. To put their thoughts and their arguments under a microscope. So I really would ask you to prepare just as much for cross-ex as you prepare your cases, as you prepare your blocks, as you prepare your T arguments or your DAs or your counter plans or your critiques. Okay? It will pay off, trust me. All right. Thank you.
Any questions? Any questions?